Hey, welcome back, Wreckers. Mark here again with Southern Custom CC. Thanks a lot for joining us today to check out part 2 of the Tips and Tricks series for building your own motorized bike. The series is made and dedicated to helping you modify and prep your typical motorized bicycle engine kit so that you can get the most out of your build and you can hopefully save yourself some time, money, parts, as well as headaches along the way. Throughout the series, we will talk about the exhaust, gas tank prep, clutch levers, sprockets, magneto, chain idler, carburetors, intake manifold, throttle bodies, and so much more. Once again, the series will discuss only the parts that come stock in the typical engine kits. I'm fully aware, as well as other viewers, that you can buy upgrades and better parts to bypass some of the roadblocks and precarious parts that we will be discussing in this series. But the purpose of this series is not to sell you upgrades. The purpose of this video and this series is to MacGyver or jerry-rig a solid motorized bicycle for the first time by using the parts supplied in the respective kits, one tip and one trick at a time. If you haven't already, please do me and yourself a solid by smashing the like button and clicking on the subscribe to the channel button so that you won't miss any of the upcoming episodes in the series or miss any of the other informative videos we will be releasing in the near future. With that said, let's get to it. Okay, as we move on to the actual throttle and throttle body, this one is a big upgrade, and I would definitely recommend doing this if you're going to keep this standard throttle setup. If not, of course, you can go out and get the upgraded aluminum throttle and the throttle body, and everything is fine. You won't have to deal with this. But one thing I like to do is I like to put a stop on this throttle. So as you can see, when we open up the actual throttle body, we're going to find that this is made of the plastic, okay, and the actual throttle is made of plastic as well. So with the two, there's no sturdy way to stop this from sliding forward over time. So what generally happens is that this throttle gets sandwiched and then it gets crushed down into the actual throttle body, and then you're going to have throttle issues because there's not a stop to stop that throttle in its home position. It actually rolls forward, and then you're going to have problems when you actually go to throttle. So what we're going to do to fix that, and once again, this is just a garage fix. If you have a different way, cool. If you want to upgrade, cool. This is just a quick little redneck fix, I guess you would call it. So we're going to get a standard nail with a larger head so that it will protrude and stop outside this body. We're going to get it at about 5/8 of an inch cut. Okay, and we got our stop. We're going to get the throttle cable. Thread that in through the throttle body. Now, once again, this is plastic. This is steel. The two won't mix for longevity because the steel will over thread on this throttle body. So I suggest you do this one step once and once only. Okay, you leave it to where there's about 2 or 3 threads left on that throttle body, on the throttle cable going into the throttle body. You'll put it at a 45-degree angle. Okay, so it's kind of still sticking out, and it's not perpendicular, or it's not parallel. It's at a 45-degree angle. I will tighten my nut. Get that snug. Get it snug. Okay, and as you can see, there's some tension there, but it can still go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about 15 degrees, and that's going to tighten and sandwich it. You won't over torque it, because once you drive that in, you're not going to be able to come back out. You're going to lose the integrity of that that fit. So only do this once if you can. Once again, the 45, finish it with a 15. You're going to pull out your throttle cable. You're going to put it into your throttle and secure it. Roll it down. Okay. Now I'm going to pull back on that cable. Now I'm going to heat my nail stop. With a blowtorch, I'm going to get it really, really hot. I'm going to shove it in right at that curvature there. Right where that line is. Right below it, just as it starts to bend. If I go too far in, then it's going to create a non-stop. You're going to miss. And if I go too high up, this portion is going to be weak and you're actually going to melt through it. If I go too low, it's not going to do anything. My guide is right where that U is, right where that bend is. Okay? With this part, you only want to do it once if you can, because it's very, very delicate. Once this nail is hot and we protrude through this plastic, if you're shaking, if you're moving, if you're having problems shoving that in, it's going to create a wider opening and you're going to lose the security of that stop. So heat up your nail and try and insert it one time all the way through. Okay? Alright, as you can see, that is piping hot. We're going to do a one insert right at that U. Okay, we're going to get that in. Get it straight through, right in front of the cable. Okay? If you want, you can push that in, but what I like to do is then come over to the vise and guide it in straight. That way you can kind of adjust and make sure that it goes in directly straight into it. And it's not at a curve, it's not at a bend. Got some big wind coming in. It'll help out with that smoke that just filled the garage. Okay, give that a moment to cool. And as you can see, the outer nail head has created a stop. I'm not blocking the cable from sliding because the nail is in front of the cable. And then, once I roll it down, as you can see, there is a stop. That throttle will stay in place. Even as that rubber top degrades, that nail is going to be there to stop it. Now you don't want to go larger than 5/8 because then what you're going to do is you're going to close off that hole and you won't be able to put your top screw in your nut and secure it. So you want to make sure that that nut is not, or the nail is not protruding through that hole. That's just a little bit of plastic bubble coming through, and that my screw is going to sit down there nicely. But if you need to ever change out your throttle cable, you can get some pliers, pull this out, and then you will be able to replace your cable. And then what you'll do is you'll heat it back up a little bit, not as much as we just did, and slide it back in, and it'll secure it. Of course, the more you do it, the less integrity that bond will hold. So try and do that as minimal as possible. So that is a quick fix to keep your throttle body from being crushed and shoved down into the throttle body. Okay, so in continuation with the throttle body, the next thing I like to do is get a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench and take out that baby Allen screw. Okay, as you can see, the way of taking it out is by unscrewing it. And as I mentioned before, metal and plastic do not go together long term. So what ends up happening is that this little Allen screw will come unscrewed. It will fall into the hole that you make on your handlebar, and then your throttle body will begin to roll forward, and there will not be a stop on top from keeping it from rolling, which can be a headache. So to solve that, what we're going to do is upgrade that stop. We're going to get a 3/16 drill bit, and we're going to come in 90 degrees straight up. Drill right in the middle of where that hole was. Then, because this is malleable, you can hand thread it with a M6 screw. If you were just get another M6 screw and screw it down, you'll be able to manually thread it. But since I have an M6 threader, we're going to come in and create a thread. Now, an M6 screw will go down there perfectly, and I can thread that in. And once I set it on my handlebars, I'll screw that all the way down, and that will go absolutely nowhere, and that will be a close to permanent fix on the top stop of your throttle. Now, of course, one last little tip is, since you threaded this part, you're going to also have to thread in your handlebars as well. So you'll take out your screw, and you can either manually thread it by screwing it in, or if you have a tap, you can go ahead and tap it in. In juxtaposition, if you do have the throttle body that does have the brass colored metal piece molded into the throttle body, go ahead and leave it alone. You only want to do the previous step if you have the kind that is removable, that can be unscrewed. If it's molded inside, leave it alone. You're good to go. Alright, and as we are coming close to finishing up, securing our throttle body to the handlebars, we'll want to make sure that the outer screws are tight first. Nice and secure. And then we'll finish up in the center. And these screws I just pulled out from the extra screws that come with the kit. It's an M6. There's a bunch of these, about a handful of them in each kit left over, and we'll just secure that down. And that throttle body is going absolutely nowhere, and that is secure. So with the stop and with the top stop, you have yourself a very, very reliable throttle body.